Oh, you need a pen? Yeah. Sorry. Sorry, here you go. Never mind myself. They just came. Yep, I know. Nickel time, excellent. Yep, I just texted him, but. Yeah. Come on, James, start.
Trevor Zoom here. Carla Holder and Nicole Robinson. Not present. Currently. Okay, hearing members present will proceed to a few housekeeping items. Members of the public will be allowed to provide oral testimony on all items of the agenda. In-person oral testimony will be allowed during item number 3, as listed on the agenda. Before testifying, each person shall state their name. The speaker may not have anyone else read their statement and is limited to a 3-minute presentation on each item. When it is called, you state your name and written testimonies, the testifiers' address, email address, and phone number will be available to the public as described on the agenda. As a courtesy, please turn on all cell phones. Members, item number 1 is a presentation that continues on the discussion on parks. First on the agenda is the adopt plan.
So I'll kind of MC the park folks, but thank you for being here today. And last meeting, the board members asked for representative from our adopt park program. This is our adopt park program. We are happy to say that the council just supported adding a second full-time musician. And so hopefully we can advance.
Hi, my name is Tim Higa, and I am the Adopt a Park coordinator. In brief, Adopt a Park is the commitment from an individual or organization to provide stewardship at a park for a minimum of 4 per year for 2 years. The park may have more than one adopter, and it would be ideal for large parks to have more. The definition of stewardship is to take responsibility to take care of something versus ownership, which means possessing something. It is important to know that parks belong to people and not an individual or group. The agreement and all of the attachments are in your packet and may be reviewed at your convenience. I will go over the main points of the agreement in this presentation. The types of stewardship or services to be provided are categorized into 2 groups. Litter removal, green waste, graffiti, making, landscape maintenance, invasive plant vegetation removal, and planting projects, which require the planting addendum. Adopt a Park events are presented for the fiscal year 2023 and 2024. There was an increase of 25% in volunteers, 11% increase in service hours, 47% increase in community service projects, and a 315% increase in the agreements. The goals of the agreement are to introduce and have collaboration with site staff, the Division of Urban Forestry and Maintenance Support Services. Its aim is to help align events and groups with departmental goals and processes. The takeaways: beautification of parks, commitments of time, resources for adopters, and activating parks. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them for you.
How many parks are adopted?
Well, we have approximately about 112 agreements, active agreements currently.
We're not having incidents around them, and obviously that's not PPR's role or responsibility, so there are times you have to maybe work with another agency that deals with, whether it's crime or incidents that, you know, you have a park cleanup tomorrow, and there's, you know, an encampment there, you have to work through that.
Sure, great question. When there are parks that challenges are expected or anticipated, if we know in advance, we can ask for some support from community policing or CPT or HPD and see if we can get them to come out and do the event or clean up with the group or be there to help support. And then we've done that many a time, and in parks that don't have those kinds of challenges or foresee, we may not invite them, or they might just sit by or stop by just to check. But if it's known to have challenges, I'm gonna ask CPD or HPD or other agencies or other support groups that might be able to help us be there.
And then in terms of, you know, the list of 1 through 8, do some organizations go above and beyond where they're doing, you know, maybe they want to fix piping in a bathroom, or maybe they want to fix the roof, and that's obviously, you know, you go, maybe that's their union job, you know, I don't know where those lines are across, but how does that work out when an organization comes and say, hey, we want to redo this whole bathroom, right? How do you deal with that?
I tell them if they would be so kind to give a brief or some sort of proposal and introduce them to my boss, deputy director, as well as the site or district managers, so that they can all from me, because that's on bigger stuff, so the CIP or larger type projects. I'm not gonna say no. Get the information, I'll move it. And as to the question of, are there a lot of groups? Every group is different. Many want to do more.
So prior to COVID and looking back in the communities, what was happening is the grouping and wanted to do an adopt part, each agreement had to go through the corporation council to be approved. And when we came in during COVID, there was a pause, and so we started working with the corporation council and our own staff to say, you know, there's certain common routine things that, you know, 80%, 90% of the groups want to do. Let's do pre-approved things. So we came up with, you know, item has that list, but you see the 8 things. The planting was the most recent one added to the list because that was a bit more specific and we needed to work out things with urban forestry. And then the next thing on the list would be field maintenance to get to something similar for that. So if anybody wants to do anything outside of the standard, we're happy to work with them on that. But it just is a little bit beyond the scale of the standard.
Since we kind of values about then we have to pay for the service fee.
Well, we have, 87,000 or 80,000 times, say, $50 an hour. That's what we're doing.
That's a good value.
Oh,
Congratulations. What's good about it? Education.
For just to get out there and be outside and help. And all that, people are outside again, they're getting back into life. Schools, universities, they push for community service, and they're getting their students back engaged in community service type of projects. So it's that mindset of trying to get back to the community, get back to the earth. That mindset of being there.
I think then is being really humble as well, because I think a lot has to do with that. Get back to people when I call and we can tell, I get so many comments about my groups when they've gone out and maybe out there. We with them, talking with them, I think it's been very well received by the public, and so one of my tries to stimulating.
It's great that you have an additional person coming on for it. Part of my question is where, I guess, when you think about it, I think $50 is too little. It's probably, if you're looking at city employees, probably all cost $30 or $40. Maybe 7,000. And I guess, just it'd be great to see so maybe like the cost of benefit. So, two people are getting this much benefit and our support. And hopefully that will be a basis for future support as well. That we can more.
Sorry, just to, we do have park level staff that will be engaging in these groups, so Benny is, helping to coordinate, but we will pass them over to the park level staff, so let's say they're doing a large cleanup. The park level staff will be organizing a rubbish truck to come on and pick things up, or providing materials and supplies to them, coordinating with them as well, so it's.
I know with the city has really prioritized this, from a tourism perspective, like on the long campaign or kind of environmental stewardship. They're trying to do for visitors that they could go and do some sort of, give back to the community. I know this is not the part, it's more consistent and more of like organizations, volunteers to show up, but has there been kind of a nexus with you and what you're doing and being trying to partner with some of those groups that are working with visitors to have them give back?
As far as the Visitors Bureau specifically, I know, it was HDA with GPD, YGP, and so, yeah. We do try, wasn't that?
Yeah, that's the answer.
Right, when you can, right?
Oh, yeah. Try to put it all.
Yeah, and so, if we can, it's a different reason, whether it's kids here or visitors coming in. If we can just do a small little thing where we can just pick up a little bit, that's, just a little bit, that's how they so. It was taking the way long.
Yeah, it's impressive. The increases of volunteers and the hours, and especially the breakdown of all stores and tasks that we have. Yeah, personnel they pay for it. So you even runs a means on the hourly pay, break that down. It's very modest, the projection, but I think these kinds of numbers and the volunteers, the actual financial impact will be substantial, and it's something to be really, and that's something, another torch that they're taking. carry forward with running the community and saving this youth money, enabling a step to accomplish so much. And that success will build my citizens. So I think it's important to modify that to our citizens.
Well, I'm most interested in this because of the opportunity I was seeing. Maybe not for the high leverage parts like, Run or maybe for some of the smaller community parks where there's a lot of practicing and some smaller scale competition. I was just interested in seeing how these community club groups or little league or flag football leagues can play a role in this region. And a lot of these key points may not necessarily directly connect with the sports groups. I know we're exploring that a little more. But of the parks that creates about the park. How many people have sports facilities or these most like open parks?
I'd say about 1/3 have sports facilities, 1/3 beaches, and 1/3 is park space or community parks that don't have this general courts, fields. So we have like district parks, or regional parks, beach parks, and this neighborhood parks.
Okay, so there's examples that we can go on possibly. Maybe we explore this a little further with community groups and sporting groups. Yeah, that was my, any other questions from the board? Really great work. Thank you so much.
Type of work that the volunteers do on these projects is really important. But the real benefit for the parks over time, because these groups are coming in maybe 4 times a year, not on a daily basis. So it can't ever really substitute or replace the daily grants, duties and whatever. But what it does is it creates a shift in the community. You know, but these are our, because a lot of times somebody may be happy to smash cities toilet, I don't know why, but they're not going to smash their neighbors. So when they see a community do out of the park doing that work, they see their friends, they see their coworkers, they see, you know, family members, it kind of shifts the mentality that this is our park, not, you know, some other park. And that, Juliana approach for the athletic teams and things, you know, you have the, there's a lot of awareness because we feel like heavy use on it. And so to have people come on in and instead of just taking and having some responsibility in mentality, that means get out of the leaders and really getting out of the young reporting and needing a place of better nutrition for everybody, especially when our groundskeepers will involve more people. I think there's a lot of activity that can be time. So we make sure that the garbage is packed down and we look at it and then go all over the place to the next. So that's really the mission for us. We should quantify the dollars and we think we also want to quantify the food money. Then the next 4 days, I think we're going to today.
Good afternoon, fellow quality control department. Going off of what Danny had said with the top of the park, we've also been looking how we can better our turf and ground quality. So, Robert, you mentioned on what the leagues can really do and get out there to do
So working with our, maintenance support services team, you're noticing in your guys' binder, we have a few work list of, allowable and not allowable. Things that we allow some of our groups to do. We really looked at what's happening now, out in the community, what we've been kind of allowing them to do, things that the groups have expressed, or how come we can't do that, or we don't have a list, and we see a list. So we created this list so that when groups are asking, what can we do, what can't we do? Here's something that's general for them to look at. And this is more so for your kind of everyday, field type of work that they do when the groups or sports is out there, during their times that they can do and that we allow them. This does not take away from any, bigger or specialized community field projects that may be requested. So if a group wants to come in and say, we do a field renovation work, like we mentioned earlier from Manapa Park, it'll go from Denny and we have to work our way up. There's a lot more permissions that have to be done with that, but it's something that we're still willing to look at. If you wanted to bring in some type of heavy equipment to do something on the field, we were open to everything. That doesn't mean it's gonna be an automatic yes, but we wanna make sure that you guys are vetted, whatever group is coming in and wants to do any type of work, they know what they're doing, they know how to run the machines, they're professionals in what they do. Because, in the end, that park, if it's messed up, then it's gonna fall back to us and our taxpayer money that has to go back and fix it. So before we have to go there, we wanna make sure things are being done correctly, they're vetted, and, we have our professionals to do that. So this is part of the list. I know Robert, you had asked about having a list before, so we wanted to make sure that we came up with something that is viewable so that you can kind of see. We're also looking at expanding not only this, but working with our community groups. So, I think I emailed you, Robert, but for the rest of you guys, I'll probably be putting on emails to you also, to get your guys' ideas on community groups out there who would like to help you. We're gonna start, an internal and an external, core group on what we can do to work with the different communities, get representatives of each area. And, come together, so that we can train, we can explain, we can, give information on what we as a parks are trying to do. And what is it out there in the community that you guys need, or what they need in their area, because every area is different in what their needs may be. So for us to get these community groups out there, at least have a voice at the table. And it's not gonna be, everybody around the island is gonna be part of this group. We wanna keep it to a small core group that we can really get things done and figure things out. So by the next meeting, our goal and our plan is to have that group already in place and have meetings so that we can move forward and go on from there.
Is that group more centered around the sports, or is that probably around?
That is more for the sports and also community groups who utilize the fields itself.
So I was thinking of potential individuals or groups to represent more around sports and community use.
We want to make sure that everybody gets to be representative. So we have our baseball groups, our soccer groups, any groups football who is utilizing our fields is our main thing that we're looking forward with this group and what we can do to help improve the fields and what they can maybe do to help us keep the fields good.
I have a few operational type of questions. Equipment use, is that are parks equipment shared, or are you allowed to use the lawnmowers and things like that, or as groups come in and potentially, steward the site, would they come in with their own equipment based on those things that are outlined as yes on this site?
Hello, good afternoon. Cesar Manuel, Park Run Supervisor with Maintenance Support Services Division. we specialize in the sports fields, baseball fields, softball fields, football fields, multi-sport fields. In the specialty fields such as cork, Hans Lodge, white field soccer, complex. So with that said, a lot of our equipment with liability issues with it. You need to be specially trained. It's just like farm equipment. It can take you out in a second. So it's very dangerous. A lot of our equipment, tractors, where our guys also have to be trained. And able training that has to be involved. So that the equipment like with aerators, the lawnmowers, different size lawnmowers, birdie covers, things like that. So we definitely don't let the outside community that's not training football model. However, sports groups are allowed to bring in small residential type riding mowers like the Craftsman, the little John Deere's, to mow the fields or even outfield lots.
Members, any questions?
So with the no's or the not allowed, right, pitching or pitching down, what if your crew showed up one day and literally messed with it or didn't work? What's kind of the repercussion or what's the action, or is there a fine, or is it just kind of talking to the league, and what if people don't follow this?
Well, that has happened where we have some fields like Azevedo and Marnell. Ended up, we went back to check the work that was done. It was at 54 feet, the pitching bump itself on the plate. We're supposed to be 60 feet, 6 inches. So of course, then you get new, Cy Young Award winners up there. And then coaches are complaining, why are these pitchers so good? Well, they're throwing 6 feet further in or closer, then it's gonna be a challenge for the hitters and that level of play. Right. So we generally, when we come to a field, we measure everything out. Make sure it's squared out, meets the dimensions, because some people think like 90-foot base paths is from the top of the top of home plate to the first base in front of it, when it's actually the apex to the back right corner. So we're finding a lot of bases or anchors just out of whack. And that's where we kind of try to straighten it out and then talk to the league and discuss with them, this is what we're finding. And then other teams that do use the field, they usually sometimes the ones that catch what's going on. So we try to correct it. So initial renovation, we like to do that. And then hand over the maintenance, the daily maintenance, weekly maintenance, monthly maintenance of the fields, or when they do field days. So it's less technical on that. So we have specialized tools and equipment. We have so many different measuring tapes that run 300 feet just to make sure everything's squared up and right.
Thanks, Ethan. So do you guys have the training in the beginning so that as it comes on, they know what expectations are, like this is what, the length of the grass should be, or this is how issues everyone's, everyone knows what the end looks like.
We're actually, I just met with Steve last week, we're gonna start working on something that we can have in there, so when these groups are coming out and they're asking, well, what are we being vetted on, or what is, the standard that we're trying to set, we would have something there that, if you guys are coming onto that fields, this is what we're expecting of it, this is what it should be, and do things to that nature, so we're working on it right now.
Thank you. Is there like typical then, if there's a way to quantify the benefit of the programs to, I think, as we push forward, the great work that you guys are doing, it just helps to sound how much return we're getting and amplify the benefit that you get.
So a few benefits to this initiating the training program. It's cost effective. Where groups are asking for 6 tons of cinder when they only need 1 ton of cinder. And where there's another 4 tons of cinder sitting on the side where it gets overgrown with weeds, and that's a couple $100 a ton. So that's wasteful spending there. And then also teach them how to correctly fill in the low spots instead of just throwing dirt on top of it. What usually happens the first rainstorm or first play, that cap, so to speak, just runs away. And then we have the hole again, so we gotta teach them how to incorporate it into what's existing to for the lasting effect over the season and over the years. Thank you guys.
I'm not sure if you guys are the ones to say this, but how is the staffing levels for the people that do work on the field? I know the reason why these groups want to help so much is because they feel they need to because the staffing levels are low. Like, how's that going? And how long does it do but is that getting better? Or?
So it is a specialized division that takes care of this work. It's very low staffing level, but they are working on fixing it right now. Yeah.
Got it.
So the field renovation work is another of different departments that's involved. The heavy equipment that mostly supplies us or picks up the topsoil, the cinder, aggregates for a field. And we have the chemical department that goes through and sprays out all the weeds. And tries to keep the infield weed free, the infield grass weed free, and all the undesirable type of grasses that fields such as concrete waters, white field, soccer field, and so forth. And then we have the labor crew, the utility crew that's specialized training in how to do softball fields, baseball fields, soccer fields. And how that basically cost effectively do the work.
Thanks. And I know Department of Education, it seems like a lot of high schools are moving forward to maybe turf or a different alternative for the fields, especially on the west side when it's really hot and the grass dies. Has there been maybe thoughts around investing in that in certain areas where it's harder to maintain the fields or more costly to maintain them, where maybe putting that in front of us could be wise?
Well, the misnomer is turf fields, actual turf fields don't need any maintenance, which is a false. There's plenty of maintenance that still needs to be done there. There are weeds that actually grow in the actual turf area. And also wear and tear, and you have to really put a lot of maintenance in. And upfront, it's a huge financial burden, I would say. And they don't last forever. Cass High School football field, less than 8 years and be replaced. So that's millions of dollars right there. And then another example is one of the Lewis natural turf fields. Just got redone this past year at a cost of 2.7 million. And that's a living entity where it's not gonna last forever unless it's taken care of, daily maintenance and that. So either way, it's what do you want to spend now or how long, what kind of circuit do you want the athletes to play? There's also the thought that AstroTurf is more knee injuries compared to, and also concussions, because it's not as giving as natural turf.
Thank you.
Didn't think so, but I figured I'd clarify for everyone, he's interested in. And then we got a later time, I really see how activating at the site, what does that look like? You have people that are suing the site, probably have a lot of interest and feel like some, I don't know, it's clearly on, with determining, the activities, but nobody cares how that goes and what that looks like. And the site staff and how the process is and some of the town. As we get into the phase where we further consider this
So we do have fields that are adopted park program, and what happens is it's very well maintained. The different groups that adopt the park, comfortable adopt park groups. And when we come in there once a year to do the renovation or just to spruce it up, it's a lot less material, a lot less manpower, and everything. So it's a definitely positive working collaboration with these groups. Thank you.
I think just what these gentlemen are doing, it's kind of standardized that process because there's been, one-off times when people have done that part, through developing a relationship with my staff, but not necessarily across the board. So with this group that we're trying to put together now is kind of a focus group to help us take a look at the list that we've got and then hear from the representatives from the different athletic uses on the fields. What's important to them, they understand why we put down what we put down, what, you know, what are we missing, if they're in the more broadly to other folks. But I think, we also are trying to identify our highest use fields. So we may have a park, we have about 220 ball fields and 130 multi-purpose fields, but we may have a park where they have 2 ball fields, and then the outfield is the multi-purpose field. So it may be a single park with 2 fields, or 2 fields. And then we're having to kind of adapt and the field use everything. So once we identify which parks have the high use fields, it will reduce that number, and we can start to take a look at the cost benefits for some of these, you know, alternatives. But I think it's trying to take more of a departmental approach and to build a standard, maybe beginning with the higher use areas and items that we can train people on to do safely without impacting the users and everything. But we're really at the beginning stage because we don't have training developed yet. We don't have the high skill that and we haven't sat down with the bullets to, you know, they try to users to kind of sound and adapt those things on the needs. But I think these guys are doing a wonderful job in putting this together and being very open to the new approach. And then our ability to get to that point, where we can start to build, you know, some more standard procedures that we have a lot of really lot of
Next up, it's update on maintenance and servicing of trees.
getting stuff together to come on our minute, then on vacation. So, Shane, not then, to carry the load over.
Good afternoon, board. We wanted to take this time to review our annual training plan for our private contractors performing on public policy and policy. And the first one is training is to review our master agreement certifications and address continuing and recurring issues that we have experienced with our contractors. Contractors are required to attend the following annual training sessions as appropriate based on the services they provide to city, coordinated by staff, legal authority, and categorized by the types of services the contractor provides. The annual training is anticipated to begin at the beginning of each fiscal year. In this training package, we have comprehensively itemized the section based on the starting stages of the contract to completion. The new binder is the draft contractors annual training. The training will cover bid submittals, pre-mobilization, permits and notifications, traffic control, personnel protective equipment, reporting in, and coding guidelines. In the training, we further discuss and provide examples of routine pruning and how the tree should grow once the work is completed. For example, taping up trees. Before and after. We also cover other types of work such as working in parks, new tree, invasive species, etc. Here is an example of what is required of the contractor when they work in parks. So this is a before and after photo. Actually, what this photo about is before we get some larger days So what we've seen in the past, the contractor, they always raise their bid, but they leave the stuff that's in the future. So we try to get it more, get rid of the lower capital branches. Contract may also, contractor may also be requested to do the property damage and debris removal. Here's an example, of debris removal. And what not to do, such as leaving debris unattended and throwing debris to other adjacent properties. Finally, we'll cover all the contractor will submit for payment. The requirements such as submittal of all tree deficiencies, arbor reports, for errors in the contract. And if issued, all notice of correct actions signed and returned. We are excited to have our first contractor training for the fiscal year of 2026. Do you have any questions?
Cheating.
Thank you.
And Duncan's being modest, for years, you know, I was amazed when I went to be talking about how many complaints you get about trees. You know, leaves and branches and things, and for years we talked about, you know, we need to the contractors, because a lot of the street trees, the regular pruning is done by contractors. They realized that they had a lot of contractors drop off their list over the years. And they didn't want to work quite much to talk to them about why. And when they found out that the regions, they were having to cut trees so large, the smaller companies couldn't take the bond and then drop that another time until they get paid. So they put out a new contract, they made smaller regions. They went out and spoke to the tree trimmers out in the community and encouraged them to apply for the new contract. And then they put together this training because they also know a lot of the tree trimmers that don't need the contract. And so a lot of the complaints they get is because they're not coming. So they put together a very clear training for teachers where they identify the common complaints that they get and make sure that they pay attention to those questions in the contract. So I think they did a really good job, and we're hopeful that we get a lot of bidders on this new contract and then we see a difference. It's like we want to be something. Jay, we're gonna put it back up.
It may be something that our chicken and zero. Maybe. I'm sorry. Feel like this just a quick training, thank you, it's really good. With some of the basic species, that right now, just field, for example, are we training the contractors so that they know what to look for, to make sure that we understand if there's an infestation, something like that, to be correctly?
We do have a procedure in place that before you get awarded a contract, you need to go through training. That's all of our trainings that they need to take the ceremony training. And that's part of the requirements.
We keep a database of like where we went with that shows around that.
Yeah, community forestry program manages our database, and they keep track of where we're seeing it, but basically, yeah, oh, it's very visible.
Yeah, I was just gonna kind of piggyback off that and just blanket, like, how is the CRO situation, what's kind of the protocols and, again, others in the works, and it's been in the news a little bit more, and it's been on, I've seen on Instagram, a little bit more public outcry, but it's just one of the kind of rough update on the situation.
Right now, we started in October, our current part, or, from there, or, clearing on. Earlier in the year, we started at big, big, some more flexibility. Basically, we're setting first a boundary between, everywhere else and except clearing park, all the way through to, we don't have any resources to do all the things we have. So, some treatments. It's a starting bring getting the word.
Next, we'll update on board operations.
Yeah, so going back to our morning, as we continue to move forward, try to get our fields cup and our standards, that we've been working on, and so we started with our training videos. So right now, the training videos that we have is how to check your, this is gonna be actually on how to, do the checklist. But it's what our, more operators are expected to do daily, their daily pre-checks and post-checks, before and after cutting, their fields. And making sure we set in a standard so that everyone is being taught the same thing and going through everything the same.
This short video will walk you through how properly fill out the large church sheet are critical steps in maintaining the safety and performance of our equipment.
Our tip sheet is divided into three key sections: pre-operation, post-operation, and inventory.
Before operating any equipment, begin with the pre-operation checklist. Here's what you need to do. Write in the equipment number, your hour meter reading, and a date at the top. Next, fill in your name under operator. Now, you'll check each of the following items to ensure the equipment is safe to operate. Once checked, you will put a check mark next to each area that has been checked, starting with the air filter, battery, belts, blades, electrical system, engine coolant and oil, fuel, hydraulic fluid, ignition switch, safety covers, and safety guards, along with tires. If all items are in good condition, place a check mark. If there's an issue, let note under the operator's comments at the bottom. After using the routine and post-operation checks, this includes cleaning and inspecting the engine, its grills, radiator, and air filter. The tractor by removing the debris, and the cutting them, both top and bottom. Also, regarding the final meter read. Don't forget to complete the final section. Add any operator's comments about equipment condition or repairs needed. Sign your name under the operator's signature. Then submit the checklist to your supervisor for review and signature. A few important reminders. Grease the PTO system and all fittings daily. Clean equipment thoroughly at the end of each use. Tighten any loose fasteners. And bring yours in for $100 service at the AES or MSS mechanical repair shops. Completing the checklist protects you, your coworkers, and the equipment. Mahalo for doing your part to keep our operations safe and efficient. For questions, contact your supervisor or mechanical repair shop.
So as you can see, we're working on our training videos, we've been testing things out on how we wanna do it, what we wanna present to, the rest of the operators that whoever's gonna be seeing this video. The next steps in this is gonna be going through each list, what they're gonna be checking, so where's the air filter, what are they supposed to be doing when they're checking that air filter? And we're gonna be having our guys at our MSS shop going through that and showing that as they're the experts who really know about it. So that'll be the next part in our videos, as far as training and as we move along with getting everything set up for everybody. Also with that, when we spoke the last time, we talked about, being able to measure, with us getting more staff, the equipment that we have and stuff, being able to measure how our fields are being cut, are they meeting that once a week standard, and if not, what is the reasons why? So in Q4 with that, we started a mowing log, and this is an example of a mowing log that our operators, every day that they're mowing, they're gonna report what they mowed for that day, the day that they did it, and if there's anything that was wrong, if they couldn't do the mowing for any type of reason, whether it be weather, mechanical issues with the equipment, or something else going on, they'll note it in the comments so that we can keep track of what's going on. From this mowing log, it'll go to their supervisor or the designee in that district's area who will be putting it into a spreadsheet. And on that spreadsheet, it'll really be able to show us what parts are being done every week. And then at the end, it'll add up the percentage of fields that we were able to cut every week, so that we can see throughout the year what we're hitting, where we're at, and what we need to adjust, or what we need to do to better our goal standard for those areas. This actually has been implemented starting today, so hopefully we'll have some data for you guys at our next meeting in September.
Members, questions? You guys, something, the guy you're writing for the training video, for this one here too. Is there a way to use like the smartphones and digitalize it so that your operators can, just put it in one time and then it's put into like one database versus having to transpose it from a written form?
So part of the reason why we never really inform at this time is because our operators are not using cell phones or any type of electronic devices at this time for them to do it. And because we won't provide it to them, we have to use an option. And we can't force them to use their own personal cell phones to do any of that. As far as having an electronic VA, they don't really have access to computers and they're coming back to the office. So because of that, that's also that reason. But of course, we're always trying to figure out ways and what we can do better. For some of these guys, because they're out in the field, having that be the option is just easier. With the trip sheet, it's similar. They have a paper trip sheet that they fill out for their vehicles and their trailers. So in line with that, we do the paper option.
No, this is a great idea, and thank you for putting it together. In other parts of the operational, for Parks and Rec, you guys do something like this, and what's coming to mind is the irrigation and like what's broken, what's not, what's working, and okay, what's kind of the priorities to fixing certain things. And this is a great model, so I was wondering if you guys are implementing in other areas.
I know for the irrigation and MSS, they have a system that they've been working on. But I couldn't speak to that, so I'm sorry on that. But as for the other areas, we're still working to get everything up to standard and par.
Next, on our agenda is update on comfort station maintenance at one.
Good afternoon, I'm Carol Mata, Economic River District Manager. So from our last presentation that we did, we were starting to create training videos. And the first thing you guys saw was the sink cleaning. We also started creating little like cheat sheets, so these are our cleaning cards. So for cleaning comfort stations, these are the 4 tasks that they need to do. So these cleaning cards are going to be eventually be distributed to each groundskeeper so that they can keep it in their storage room or on them. It's going to be just small little cards. So they can reference back to it, you know, if they're new employees and they don't recall what the steps are. But just as a reminder, this is just one way of doing it. You know, they can adapt and change it to how they want to clean, but this is how we're teaching them how to do it. So for the past couple of months, we worked with the districts to create the cleaning cards and the videos. So we gotta give thanks to Mark Hoga because he did all the filming and the editing and the producing of the videos. I'm not gonna do the sink cleaning because you guys saw that the last time, but we'll move forward with the toilet cleaning. And then we have urinal cleaning and the cleaning of walls and floors. Oh no.
The following are directed to the toilets in Park Avenue. Use proper PPE, gloves, and other safety. Use the spray powder or handheld sprayer. Sprays at the toilet bowl when the seat is expected. Using a toilet bowl brush, scrub the rim inside the toilet bowl. Flush the toilet after the wash, 2 gallons of water. Using a sponge, scrub toilet seat. Wipe down toilet seat with a rag after cleaning. Thank you for your hard work. Following your hard practice. Use proper PPE, gloves, and eye protection. Use
The spray bottle or handheld sprayer, spray inside the urinal to disinfect. Using a toilet bowl brush, scrub inside the urinal. Flush the urinal after cleaning. Down. Keep up the good work. Following are directions for disinfecting walls and floors for apartment bathrooms. Use proper PPE gloves and eye protection. Using a spray bottle or handheld sprayer, spray walls and floors to disinfect. Using a little bug or spraying pad, scrub the wall. The best part, scrub the floor. Down with water using a water. Use or foot broom to direct this water to floor drains or grass areas. You are appreciated.
What's our question? Is it the video?
I'd like to make a real, it's. It's said that you guys have, early guidance if they come to, human beings or other, stuff that's like on floor, something like that, they want to have.
Yeah, there's a lot of variables with our public bathroom, so we have to figure out how we're. But this is like for the initial cleaning, right, the deep cleaning, but we still have to do for like a refresh, and then there's situations where there's feces or, like bodily fluids on the, yeah, so we're working on that. Might take a while.
Oh, John, the videos are online for you to share with your children if you wish.
So the next step now, so we created an inspection checklist. So the, inspection checklist of the pump station. So this is gonna be used by supervisors, to conduct their inspection. So we haven't figured out yet how we're going to, it's really hard if the staff goes in and if it's not checked immediately following, because our bathrooms are so highly utilized that it could get messed up right after. So we haven't figured out how we're gonna do the inspections yet, but this is the checklist, draft of the checklist of what we're gonna do. And the next steps that we're gonna do is we're still trying to determine how we're gonna kick off, these new training videos, yeah, I think I'll be talking more about that a little bit later. But we've been kind of brainstorming on how do we initially kick off the training videos, just, showing it to our staff of how we normally do, or how do we get them a little bit more hyped up for these things. And so we've been working with Cal on that. I don't think we set anything in stone yet, so we're kind of brainstorming, but that's our next steps right now. Any other questions?
I know for the previous meetings, there was discussion about power washing in bathrooms. I don't know if you guys had an update on that or the equipment updates.
So I think with all of our groundskeeping crews in all the districts to see what was needed based off of our current program equipment. We're working on with the current equipment that we have, it won't meet the standard of once a month that we want to do right now. So it most likely will be more of a 2 to 3 month kind of thing. So we're gonna go in, working with our MSS, maintenance guys on getting quotes, more quotes again, on the different types of pressure washers, and then seeing if there's a way, I talked with Laura about it, we're gonna see if there's a way to put it into the budget or that'll come out of the district stuff. Like I said, nothing is set yet, we're just trying to figure things out, get a cost analysis of what's needed in each district to make sure we can reach that amount that's needed, and then go forward from there.
We shared that last time, but there's also been inventory, items that are damaged to be addressed as well too. Only the regular needs. You know, different. When they guys do the regular needs, if there's a damaged toilet or something, we have a way to, I guess, address that or mark that down.
Yes.
Sorry, one last question. Going back to the doctor part, does the doctor part, does it ever encompass something out with like, comfort station care, bigger project, maintain the weekly.
It could.
And not to put words into Danny's mouth, I did have this discussion with him. A lot of it depends on what the groups are willing to do also. The bathroom cleaning itself, usually not the highest on their ones from the groups, for multiple reasons. But they have been very active in helping to repaint some of our comfort stations. So that is one of the things that they will do. And then we've had them do. But as far as actually doing the cleaning, that's something that we're trying to work on. And in keeping this off, that's the discussion that we've actually had and what we can do to get out there and maybe do use it in the restrooms that help us clean the restroom, whether it's we do a full cleaning with pressure washing, repainting, whatever needs that we have that we can do out there to at least start it for our workers to show them that we do care, that we're trying to get them to this standard and this is here for you and not just being in this. So we came up with a few ideas. We're actually going to work and talk to some of our council members because Councilmember Toba is very active in wanting to do stuff with our communities. So I do have a meeting with him coming up to discuss some things and then see if we can get some of the other members actively involved and helping us to do that too.
Yeah, maybe if we should go through things about the park plans, we have the eyes to ears to kind of help.
How long maybe broken down or facilities that need maintenance? I know you hear about the news that toilets get destroyed or even I know at Cuckoo Beach, I know that one of the bathrooms is consistently down, maybe not have toilets here. So I didn't know if there's a log of what needs to be addressed like from the bathroom perspective. From like more like the pipes and the infrastructure side of it, rather than the
We have a work order system, and so, MSS can pull information from the order system. We're working with the Department of IT now, on a better system for our work orders and being able to schedule work. So we met with them, and I think it's going to take a series of discussions. They're going to bring in some vendors to do presentations for us on different software systems that some of the departments have for some of their functions. And then but certainly having the ability to pull reports on those types of things. Both costs really important. So we can get them.
We plan our budget, we look to suffice for all of the
No, so purchase is, coming up with the hard data, or what we can do, what we got, so for example, that pitch sheet for the monies. Part of it is going to show when we haven't been able to follow, that's really what is the reason. So maybe that we're putting this building, so we're working on the maintenance to see if we can use that, but it may be that we don't have enough equipment to do the mowing, maybe that we don't have enough people.
With that, we have the right equipment, the supplies and stuff, and focusing on our conversations. We have been working with, our different superintendents on looking at our, supply list, request list, and, going through and setting up an actual guidelines for our groundskeepers working its way up. When we're ordering our supplies and keeping track and having an inventory system. So we started with, the guidelines, and the process from our groundskeepers, and who they report to, who do they order their equipment from, if they need it, if they need more supplies, they need anything that they need, who they go to. This is the process that we go to from that person who is next. And then we're gonna start implementing where we're going to be keeping inventory within each section that receives the supplies from our store. Right now, the only thing that we kind of keep all what we're using is at our storeroom level. So we want to get it down to our sections and see what is being used at each section and whether we need more supplies, equipment, or anything in that area. So, this is a request form that each of the groundskeepers will submit, they'll sign, and it's a checks and balances to make sure that they're getting what they requested and we're giving them what they're supposed to get. And at the same time, we also created a spreadsheet, and this is all we can find it to. We keep track of that, and we can really see what's being used. If there's items that's not used as much or not needed, that's something that we can take off of as a budgeted item and put it into their non-budgeted area that, the section will just take care of separately or as needed. So we've been really trying to work on things, and see what we can do with that and have a good spreadsheet and idea of what our inventory is with, everything.
Moving forward. Moving on to our next, agenda item, we have safety operating equipment. Yes.
So we have a group that's working on putting together a list for the upcoming fiscal year. Even though we don't have the budget for the fiscal year starting July 1, we're going to have the full budget in the fiscal year 27 regular. Well, we get it to the mayor's office, they have this budget department for all of the cities, to present it to the mayor, we have to pass it to them, they have to balance it, and then we get it into the council in February, so in between November to February, we're finalizing.
Good afternoon. I'm Aaron Forrest from the District 3 Behavioral Health Manager. Relating to what Kiala presented regarding the supplies and equipment to meet our cleaning standards, we have also been working on a system for our vehicles and equipment. With maintenance standards comes the need for adequate vehicles and proper equipment for everyone to perform their daily tasks.
In a recent survey that was conducted among the maintenance staff, one of the top issues was equipment. One example happened to me within my own district. My rear-end work, the one pictured there, was out of service at the Automotive Equipment Services Center for well over 1 year. While it was currently awaiting parts for repairs to be made. This delay caused us to use a state contractor through the Department of Transportation for the hauling and disposal of our trash at 8 of the most highly used beach parks, which include popular campsites and Pilibao Community Park along the Beaver Coast. The assistance was greatly needed to help us avoid a potential health hazard from the long-standing trash due to the delayed pickup by the refuse crew. As my colleagues who face similar mental issues within their districts know, it can be very taxing and stressful when receiving complaints from the community that we serve. This is the reason why myself, along with Jason Wolf, the District 4 Development Manager, and Kunahan Crowell, who could engage you today, the acting park grounds improvement supervisor for assigning to create a vehicle and equipment inventory CIP team to formulate the process and storage system for purchasing vehicles and equipment for the fiscal year 2027. Our team consists of all 5 district managers from around their maintenance superintendents, the Division of Urban Forestry, maintenance support services, and our executive service. Starting on the process, we needed to collect data of our current inventory. The inventory consists of vehicles ranging from FTVs, trucks, utility trucks, tractor trailers, vans, and minibuses, along with different types of equipment, including but not limited to mowers, trailers, chippers, sand sweepers, just to name a few. The data included equipment numbers, makes, models, serial numbers, parking location, current mileage of the vehicle, current hours for equipment, was it condemned, was it replaced, was it transferred, and if there was any special type of equipment on there, such as lift gates or 100-gallon fuel tanks. After updating our inventory, we met with our team to discuss creating a process and rating system. This process and rating system started with discussions internally among the districts and the divisions. Once everyone formulated their own criteria, we met again as a team to come to a consensus for an overall process and a rating system that would benefit everyone within our process on creating the district and division list has been established for the department. The rating factors, which Jason will go over with you both, would help the CIP process be more equitable and transparent for all of the districts and divisions moving forward when wanting to replace or purchasing new vehicles and equipment. And you can see process 1 was to review the previous fiscal year's department final CIP vehicle and equipment list. Review your district division CIP vehicle and equipment list. Remove the vehicles or equipment from the list that made the fiscal year's list for the department. Discuss with your divisions, district, and management on priority needs for vehicles and or equipment that they would like to include and need for the upcoming fiscal year CIP. Once your list is created, prioritize them by using the rating factors that are provided. Lastly, meet with the vehicle and equipment working group to finalize the department-wide list to submit. Here is Jason Wall, the District 4 Winter Law Manager, to share and discuss some of the rating factors. Thank you guys, Thank you, guys.
Captain that so that we could take a list of all of the vehicles and equipment and, you know, the numbers. And so the factors that we came up with, were, the factors that are listed here, 9 factors. Service needs, meaning it's essential for, staff to use to work to get their jobs done. The next factor was, condemned. If a vehicle equipment is condemned, and it's obviously not usable. And, so the service fee and condemned, we listed them as 5 points. So one of the 1 point to 5 points, was what we rated each factor. The next one was replacement, and, the group, came up with 4 points. So this is something, a piece of equipment or vehicle that is still usable, but is pretty much on its last leg, and that, would be recommended to replace. The other factor was age. We basically, broke it down, on the age of the vehicle or piece of equipment. And 0 to 5 years, 1 point, 5 to 10, 2 points, 10 to 15, 3 points, and 15 to 20 years, 4 points. And then the next factor was out of service. And this was, and you guys probably know a little bit about the AES, but we take our equipment there. And so the factors there are from 1 to 5, and they're all work orders. How many times the vehicle or piece of equipment goes in for repair. And basically from 0 to 5 is 1 point, 5 to 10, 2 points, 10 to 15, 3 points, 15 to 20 points, 4 points, and anything over 20 work orders, we would assign 5 points. And then the next couple of factors are, for new equipment or vehicles that we were looking at, if we're getting new personnel. So if we're going to get a new position, well, you need equipment, vehicles. We rated it at 1 point, mainly because it's not like we're replacing something that's kind of down or ready to fall apart. But we're hoping that as we go through our CIP and our budget over the next few years, that we get to a point where we're going to be, you know, getting new equipment and vehicles for new employees and expanding our operations. So that's the next factor is trying to cover more, do more, get more services in our existing parks where we need more equipment, right? So that's 1 point. And then the next one was additional funds, and we rated that at 5 points, meaning let's say this fiscal year, somebody puts it for 2 trucks. But because of the high costs, things that have gone up really out of everybody's hands regularly. So they put it for 2 trucks, they only get 1 because of lack of funding. So the next fiscal year, well, they're still going to need that piece of equipment or truck. So they would get 5 points for that because it's something that you're trying to get previous year, but couldn't get. So next year you're putting it in. So we want to rate it higher because it's needed and you weren't able to get it from the previous year. And then the last rating, we put it for specialty vehicles and equipment, meaning let's say you have let's say a F-150 truck, but you have one that has the same F-150, but it has maybe like a lift gate. So it's or like a 100-gallon fuel tank fire. So because of that specialty equipment, we're giving 1 point for that. And we also, as a group, we did go over the fact that the new mandates are, we're going to have to start looking at electric type of vehicles and equipment. So any kind of passenger type of vehicle right now, if it's available, we have to, procurement wise, we have to try to replace it if we can. On the mainland, there are some larger automatic battery power type mowers, but it really has to hit
is affecting the entire industry right now. But those are things that we need to think about, and then also, we need to look at, getting, facilities or upgrade our facilities so that we can charge up vehicles, the charging stations. Those are something that we're also looking at. And one other thing that we also talked about, like, if we do have vehicles and equipment that really aren't used that much, we're looking at maybe possibly leasing instead of buying only and repairing them. So those are some things that as a group we talked about and discussed, and so our next step is that we are going to, all of our different divisions, districts are gonna come up with their list. And then we're gonna, kind of consolidate that and meet with the administrators and then make a final list for our department and then get that to, Laura, our director, so that she's ready for, representatives for the, budget for, city council. Thank you.
Or was there any question? Thank you, Jared and Jason. If I remember correctly from what Caesar shared a couple of meetings ago, the procurement process is such that it's lowest price for equipment, or is this still the case?
Is that,
Yeah, so if I remember correctly, the procurement process was such that it was the lowest price for equipment, is how you, when you put out our peer bid, whatever the lowest price of it is awarded to you guys.
yeah, well, typically, yes, I mean, we go with the typical lower cost item or the lowest bid contract. Yes.
And if I remember correctly too, that's not always advantageous to us in the long run, because sometimes the lower price item isn't always the best quality, and we also have to inventory all these different parts. And so I guess my question is, when we have the ones that's out of service work orders, do we keep a running total of what brands or what types most often need repair and how much that's totaling up to us? Because I think it might be good to show the cost of other folks over time. Like, if we get the lowest price items, it might be great savings up front, but in the long run, it's taking this manpower cost, it's taking this equipment cost, servicing, all that type of stuff. It's actually costing us more, and we're not sufficient. So I'm just curious if that's something that we are taking into account already.
Well, I think the two things, one is, the AES, they have a really good law of every equipment and vehicle that goes through their system. And so that can be captured, to maybe look at a particular brand, or model, or engine, and things like that. The other thing is for procurement, that's why it can be difficult, but how you put out the bid, the specs, the specifications, because we can't say, oh, we want a Toyota or we want Ford, even though we might know there may be a good brand or could be better, or certain years, right? Certain years, some manufacturers make better, and some is, but we have to use this, basically the specifications and what we want, and we can't like be specific on a particular brand or company.
So you basically are identifying the things that create the problem for the repair and maintenance, and then that's going to determine which brand to be eligible.
Would have to have specific machine. Well, I remember when they were talking about mowers. One of the mowers had problems getting parts for it. Because of they have another brand that they wanted to use, but it's priced higher, so they had to justify that in the maintenance outcome that wouldn't be efficient. And if you do justify that, then you can go with the price.
Any other questions for the member? Okay, member, this agenda item number 2 is an opportunity for the committee to discuss future topics of discussion and or subject matter the committee would like the department to provide information on for future meetings. So, moving on to the board members, are there any agenda items or questions that you
Yeah, I think I might have got this kind of like, in terms of the deferred maintenance or, kind of pre-maintenance, I don't know the right terminology, but so that things, we don't wait till things break, right? Or that, what is kind of the maintenance schedule? I know that we had a new team member, a new leader on the team that I think was maybe brand new as of like 3 months ago, and he was getting his hands around the scheduling, but I'd love to, I know we saw the scheduling and the mowing and the conversation, but maybe the pre-maintenance to make sure that things aren't breaking down and what that process looks like. That'd be, making this group.
First of all, that you guys have done and presented to us. It showed a lot of effort, a lot of hard work, a lot of thought, and teamwork, and a lot of creativity, like the Star Wars video. So, so I guess for me, it would be great to see the results of all of that too. So by the numbers, looking at, have we seen an uptick in, performance or decrease in, dissatisfaction or whatever it might be, but just to kind of see that. And then I also think it's good, some of my questions have been around budget and dollar value as well too. So the more we can show evidence, like what we were just talking about, where it's not just adding a little, these type of equipment a better, longer lasting, or whatever it might be, or getting the community involved in how the park that's saving us X million dollars a year, adding that value. It just helps us to be more defensible. It helps director to be more defensible when she goes to budget. That's one thing.
I guess for me, I know at one point, how do we, the department staff has done a great job presenting, a lot of information for us. Now that we're starting to activate some things around the standards, around adopt the park, or including community groups, all of the board, on the flip side, be able to be responsive to some questions or wonderings that the department has, so that ourselves and our networks may be with their role in supporting the activation of these networks. So I'm sure that's coming up soon. So I think the board will be open to that and see how we can support their implementation of these ideas or initiatives. So that's just something I have. Okay, so we'll move on at this point to agenda item number 3. We'll proceed with registered testifiers. They call your name. Please come to the table. John Rogers.
My name is John Rogers. I'm a member of the Evanston Neighborhood Board. I've been a resident for the last 30+ years. And I'm really here to talk about irrigation. First of all, I want to say I really appreciate and I'm really impressed at you folks. And I really appreciate the director's leadership in getting this board back alive again after COVID. So this is incredible. And I've been following you from the very beginning. I'm a little sad that you're not virtual anymore, but it's okay. I can go ahead and my love. But I've been following your notes, and what I see is that, and you mentioned this earlier about irrigation. We haven't yet. I don't think there's been a discussion about irrigation. And in EVA, if we don't have irrigation, we don't have lawns, any fields to mow. And in several cases over the years, we've had no fields to mow until the irrigation got back. And one of the reasons, we have three parks that are on, very unusual irrigation system. So the two parks that I live in West Lock is, West Lock, Sing Park and Kapapakui Park. They get their irrigation water from the golf course, from West Lock Golf Course. Are you familiar with all that? Okay, so they're, I'm going. Anyway, so the golf course owns the water and they control the water, and if they want to shut down the water or they don't want to spend the money on the pumps the way they should, and that's happened recently. They went down to like one or two pumps, they don't have the water pressure to supply. Because not only do they supply the two parks, but they supply the two neighborhoods, West Lock Estates and West Lock Fairways. And I've been on the West Lock Fairways board, so I've been in that irrigation water for the last 30 years. And so I really know how it all works, and one of the issues with it is it's dirty water. And so we have our landscapers every Wednesday, they go through and they inspect, all the different areas. We have 18 acres of green space, and they actually inspect to make sure that there's flow, because that's the biggest thing that happens. And when there isn't flow, they remove the heads off the things, they blow it out, clean it out, put it back, and everything works fine. So there's just, the water's dirtier, and so there's a lot more maintenance to it. So we have issues like that as saying, in Kapapakui, the irrigation system is not even, it doesn't work anymore. I've never seen it on a decade now. So Sing is a very important park because of all the playing fields. So that's an issue. And then the other park is Eva Mexico Park, is another park that gets its irrigation water from the Eva Villages Golf Course. And so that's the same problem. And they had really low pressure about a year ago, and they found out it was just a filter that needed to be one of the main filters. So I'm hoping that we can look at more maintenance to the irrigation systems. And now we have 10 parks, and they don't, you can't use them, or it's dangerous for the kids and all that stuff. So that's my point here today. Thank you.
I don't know if this is a response or this is something we'll take on in the future.
Part of the energy.
Nebraska.
Yeah, the rest of the content that we don't. We were thinking which improvements to do, and we picked irrigation as one, as a water saving. Ironically, even though we put in more water efficient irrigation systems, we're now irrigating more of these irrigation ones. So our water is. But it's doing a better job, and so we do need to upgrade the department irrigation. The ones where he's talking about where we're sharing water from the golf courses or we're taking it from a reservoir, it's a bit, they have different challenges. But we do need to do this, it's kind of like, maintenance, because other is an area it doesn't get water, it doesn't have rights. Other areas we have, there's enough rain.
Yeah, when you're observing these irrigation, you notice that the water's coming out, the spigots are broken, and you mentioned that it's blowing off, but I know kind of where I live and there are other parks, the water's working, but it's like spraying on the ground and it's like leaking all the streets. So I don't know if you've observed any like breakages and how the irrigation's operated.
Some of that's true, yes. So the head will be clogged, and so you'll see water won't be going as far as it should be, or it won't. A lot of especially for the parks, they use the super shooters, right? So they got to get up, and so if those get clogged or broken, because that's a lot of times people just malicious and they like to break things. But with what am I going to say? With the golf course parks, it would be great if we could just go off golf course water, because enterprise services just, I don't know how you guys work, but I don't think they care. Like when they say tough, like our neighborhood, we were fighting that all the time with them. And so I know with the parks, it's even harder. So That if you could get off that water and just straight R1, but that's an expensive process. Actually, Enterprise Services about a decade ago did a study to be able to figure out how to get all the neighborhoods off their water. They wanted to just keep the golf course, and of course that would involve the parks. And so they did that study. It was about $1 million. They said it would cost, and then they presented it to like the Westlock Fairways Association, but they never went. Nothing ever happened.
Well, mahalo kayo dyan, being an advocate for your community, really appreciate your time and support from the boards.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none. Members, we will now move to announcements. As a friendly reminder, members, please place a hold the calendars. Next month's meeting is our park board meeting, scheduled for Monday, July 21st, 2025. The next committee on maintenance, improvements, and partnership meeting is tentatively set for Monday, September 15th. 2025. Seeing no other announcements, we will adjourn at 2:42 p.m. Following.